More than ever, school safety is on the minds of parents, students, and staff. We'd like to welcome Dorchester District 2's new superintendent, Dr. Shane Robbins, who can share what the district will be doing to keep classrooms and your kids safe. It's great to have you.
Thank you very much.
So, unfortunately, we're talking about this in the wake of a terrible tragedy that happened in Uvalde, Texas, that has happened over and over again in our schools. So safety at top of mind for a lot of parents, for all parents and caretakers. What are we doing differently in the fall than we did before to make things safer?
You know, I wouldn't say that we're necessarily doing anything differently. I think we have very good protocols in place. We use the iloveyoguys.org standard response protocol. The thing that we're really going to focus on, because my priorities as a superintendent, number one is safety. It's ahead of student achievement. But it's to ensure that our staff members understand our protocols, but more importantly, to understand and make sure that we're following those protocols that are in place.
And what is the website again? I Love You Guys?
It's iloveyoguys.org.
What is this?
It's a national standard response protocol framework that was developed, unfortunately, out of the first Columbine incident. I've used it for over a decade in multiple school districts. We had that in place here in Dorchester too. When I got here, I was excited to see that. And so it's just all about education, training, and then following your protocols that you have in place.
And you've been an educator for how many years now?
25.
For 25 years, for a quarter of a century.
Yeah.
I had to throw that one in there, I know. But for 25 years, mostly in Indiana. So this is your first year with Dorchester District 2.
Correct.
So welcome to the district.
Thank you.
How do things look different than they were in Indiana, and are you getting a handle on just the operations and the day-to-day here?
You know, this is year 5. This will be the start of my 5th year in South Carolina. I spent 4 years in the Kershaw County School District as a superintendent, and there was a little bit of a learning curve moving from Indiana to South Carolina, but quite honestly, what we do from a functional standpoint with students is identical. We try to replicate that and meet the needs of a variety of learners in our schools. The thing that I have found probably most different is the funding process and the formulas that we use in South Carolina, and it's the hand we're dealt, you know, and we deal with it and try to make the most out of the dollars we get and stretch them as far as we can for our community.
Is funding hamstringing at all the process to keeping kids safer in school?
I wouldn't say funding's hamstringing safety. Probably what funding's doing the most for us is making it very difficult to recruit and retain teachers, you know, in our communities, and that's going to become more and more of a challenge.
Isn't that the case though across the country?
It sure is, and quite honestly, I found it a little more challenging in South Carolina just because we're surrounded by states that pay a little better, and so we're losing some of our new graduates to those states for employment.
What does South Carolina need to do to get up to that standard?
You know, I think there's a couple things that we can do. I think we need to evaluate at each district level, you know, the efficiency of our operations. That's one way to do it. We need to make sure that we're generating non-tax revenue to the fullest capacity that we can. And then the other piece is we just need a little help from the General Assembly to increase the base formula that is provided to each school district across the state. Right now we have a base formula and they don't fully fund it. They're doing much better than they did my first year here in 2018, but there's still room for improvement that will help school districts.
And as far as achievement is concerned, so where does DD2 stand?
Right.
Where do you want to see it?
Yeah, so my goal is number 1, always is, and definitely to be top 5 in the state of South Carolina. You know, we've seen a little bit of a decline over the last couple years. It's really hard to tell if there's any reason why that decline's occurred. Is it COVID? You know, a lot of us were dealt with the same issues and problems on how we educated students when we went into quarantine, and then the accountability structures and holding them to a higher standard when they came out of quarantine. So this year is going to be a really important year for us because it's going to be a year of hopefully normalcy to some degree, where we can look and see where we were pre-COVID and where we are post-COVID, and are we making progress.
All right, I want to thank you so much, Doctor, for coming in.
Thank you.
We're back after this.